So in this video, I will be looking at where I stopped in the last video, right? And so in the last video, we looked at break even, and the fact that at break even sales, profit or loss is zero, and contribution is equal to fixed cost. All right. So we said that at break even point, contribution is equal to fixed cost, where profit is zero. So it's important we bear in mind this fact that at break-even point, contribution is equal to fixed cost, where profit or loss is equal to zero. Please, let's hold on to this fact. Good. So in this video, we shall continue from where we stopped, and what we are looking at here would be the responsiveness or behavior of sales revenue, contribution, and variable cost with sales unit. All right. So how does sales revenue, contribution, and variable cost, how do they behave, all right, in response to sales unit? Okay, so that's what we want to look at here. All right, so don't forget that we did say that sales revenue, contribution, and variable costs all depend on the movement, all right, with sales units sold. All right, so here we are looking at that. I want to demonstrate that. Okay, so that is that. So how does sales revenue, contribution, and variable costs behave in response to sales unit? So this is what we want to look at in this video. All right, so we'll look at this. Under this, we also want to confirm the fact that at different sales level, contribution to sales ratio remains the same. In other words, contribution to sales ratio, that is CMR, is constant at different sales level. All right, so that's the second thing we are looking at here. At different sales level, contribution to sales ratio is constant. We want to demonstrate this. Then secondly, we will demonstrate the fact that when a business has reached its break-even level, all right, any extra sale will result in contribution tending towards profit. Okay, additional sales after break even point will be contribution towards profit. So we look at how this plays out in the next in the example I shall be giving us. All right, so that is that. Then after this, another thing this video focuses on is the fact that the concept of margin of safety, like I said in the previous video, margin of safety, which is MOS. What does it mean? That is that. All right, we look at MOS and how it relates to business environment. Okay, we back that up with example. The next thing this video focuses on is the fact that how do we demonstrate or how do we calculate break-even sales or any sales level at all right, using the graphical method. All right, determination of sales or break even sales using the graphical method. All right, so that is the third thing this video will focus on. And then the last thing it will focus on certainly will now be the limitation of break-even analysis. The limitation of break-even analysis. So without much further ado, let's go right into it. How does sales revenue, contribution, and variable cost, how do they respond to units sold? How do they respond to units sold? Okay, so we demonstrate that using these examples. Please look up and let's see how sales revenue, contribution, and variable cost respond with level of sales. Okay, we'll take down this example. So we have this example before us. This example says a business has selling price. Selling price is, we assume selling price is $100. Variable cost per unit is says $40. So if variable cost per unit is $40, we have okay, let's assume variable cost per unit is $60. If that is the case, variable cost per unit is $60. Let's say fixed cost is $40,000. Okay, now the question now is this: show the different level of sales. Show the different level of sales, contribution, and profit or loss at say 1 unit, 999 units, 1,000 units, and 1,200 units sold. Okay, so in this example we are looking at the responsiveness of sales revenue, the responsiveness of contribution and variable cost to the different sales units. Okay, the essence of this is to confirm the fact that these variables will respond positively and directly, all right, with units sold. Okay, so how do we look at this? So at 1 unit sold, all right, what do we have as sales revenue? At 999 units sold, would sales revenue increase or decrease? At 1,000 units sold, what will happen? And then at 1,200 units, what will happen to sales revenue, contribution, and variable cost? Let's look at it. Now we have 4 scenarios before us. How do we show this? So we have scenario 1, or level 1, level 2, level 3, and then level 4. So level 1 is saying that 1 unit is sold. Level 2 is saying that 999 units are sold. Level 3 is saying that 1,000 units are sold. And then the last one, level 4, is saying that 1,200 units are sold. Okay, if this is the case, what is the sales revenue? What is the sales revenue at level 1, where 1 unit is sold? So the question is this: what is selling price per unit? What is selling price per unit? For 1 unit, selling price per unit here remains, we are working in dollars, right? Working in dollars. Selling price per unit, all right, is $100. $100 for selling just 1 unit. Perfect. So we'll be having sales revenue. Okay, what will be the variable cost for selling 1 unit? The variable cost for selling 1 unit remains the variable cost per unit of $60. So you net this from this. What will you be having? You'll be having $40. So where this is the case, this $40 represents what? It represents contribution. It should represent contribution. Don't forget, we said sales revenue minus variable cost is what? Contribution. So if this is contribution, so is this contribution enough to recover fixed cost? Okay, do not forget, fixed cost as given in this question is what? $40,000. So we have fixed cost, to be $40,000. So if this is the case, $40 minus $40,000, obviously it's not enough to recover all the fixed costs. So we'll be having $39,960 as what? As the loss when only 1 unit is sold. Perfect. Now let's go ahead. Scenario 2, where 999 units are sold. Okay, so this implies that the business put in more effort to sell as much as 999 units. What will be the sales revenue, variable cost, contribution, and ultimately will it still be cost, loss, profit, or will it break even at this point? Let's look at it. So the sales revenue when 999 units are sold, what will be the sales revenue? So we are looking at 999 units times $100. So this will give us $99,900. Perfect. What will be the variable cost at this point? It is expected that since units sold has increased, all right, variable cost too will increase the same way sales revenue increased. Okay, so variable cost here will be 999 units sold times $60 per unit. Okay, so the total variable cost here is 59,940. So if this is the total variable cost incurred, you will clearly see that as 999 units were sold at level 2, all right, compared to 1 unit sold in level 1, you will discover that variable cost increased from $60 to what? To 59,940. This is a sharp increase, all right, indicating the fact that the more units are sold, the more variable cost is incurred. Perfect. So what will be the contribution here? The contribution will be to net out 59,900 from 99,900. The contribution would be 39,960. 39,960. So this is the contribution. You would also realize the fact that contribution in level 1, where 1 unit was sold, was $40. Now that as much as 999 units have been sold, contribution has grown from $40 to what? To 39,960. Also confirming the fact that, all right, contribution would increase in line with sales revenue. Perfect. So fixed cost in level 2 would also remain the same. Definitely. Don't forget what we said about fixed cost. The fixed cost, all right, remains the same. Fixed cost would remain the same irrespective of the level of activity. Fixed cost in level 2, all right, will also be $40,000. Perfect. So the question is this: what will be the profit or loss situation in level 2? Would it still be loss situation that we had in level 1? We'll look at it. Question is this: is the contribution of 39,000 enough to cover the fixed cost of 40,000? Certainly no. Okay, certainly no, which means that a loss situation is what we're having here in level 2. Do not forget what we said about loss occurs when fixed cost is more than contribution. A loss would occur when fixed cost is more than contribution, and the opposite is the case for profit. So here we have 39,960 minus 40,000. The difference will be $40, which is also a loss. So you will realize here that in level 1 we had as much as 39,000 loss. In level 2 we had as little as $40, $40, as a loss. And that's the fact that more units were sold, which earned contribution as much as 39,000. All right, so let's move very quickly. Do not forget, in level 1 a loss was recorded. A loss was recorded. In level 2 a loss also was recorded. Let's see if in level 3 a loss will be recorded or not. Now in level 3 we will see here that additional 1 unit was sold. An additional 1 unit was sold, okay, bringing total unit in level 3 towards 1,000 units. Okay, so what will be the sales revenue in level 3 when an additional 1 unit was sold? Okay, so total sales revenue in level 3 will bring it to $100 per unit, all right, times 1,000 units. So this will give us $100,000 as sales revenue in level 3. Sales revenue in level 3. What will be the response of variable cost having sold as much as 1,000 units? Okay, certainly we know that variable cost too will increase. Okay, variable cost too will increase in response to increase in units sold. All right, so we'll be having $60 times 1,000 units sold. That should give us $60,000. $60,000 is total variable cost. Net it out from sales. We'll be having contribution as much as 40,000. Contribution will be as much as $40,000. Okay, you will realize something here. When an additional 1 unit was sold here, the business was operating at a loss, all right, in level 2. But when an extra effort was put in place, an additional 1 unit was sold, bringing it to this. So this made contribution to increase from $39,960 to $40,000. Okay, and the difference between the contribution in level 2 and 3 is just $40. Okay, representing contribution for just 1 unit sold. Okay, perfect. What will be the fixed cost for level 3? Of course, it will remain the same. So when fixed cost is the same with contribution, it is a signal of break even. Do not forget that we said break even happens when there is no profit and when there is no loss. All right, break even means that total revenue is the same as total cost. Break even point also means that total fixed cost is the same with contribution, which means contribution is able to fully recover fixed cost without an excess. All right, without an excess, which will represent profit. Okay, all the contribution the business had was $40,000. It was enough to recover all the fixed costs without any excess, bringing profit or loss to zero. Can you see here? So obviously in level 3 we have a situation that we would refer to as a break-even situation. Why? Because in level 3 there was no loss, okay, and there was no profit. Good, perfect. Okay, look at it again. You will see that total revenue, which is sales revenue, was 100,000. Total cost, which is variable cost plus fixed cost, 60 plus 40 is 100. So 100 is equal to 100. Total revenue is the same as total cost. Again, contribution 40,000 is the same as fixed cost of 40,000. A clear indication of equilibrium situation. Perfect. Let's look at the last level here. In level 4, where 1,000 units were sold, in level 4, where 1,000 units were sold, you will realize that in level 4, it looks as if the company employed more salespersons, okay, and more marketing effort were geared into increasing demand, increasing sales, okay. So when this was done, this is also an indication that at 1,000 units, break even was achieved. Then extra marketing efforts was were put in place, which ensured that the company or the business realized 1,200 units as sales, okay, in level 4. This means that probably sales promotions was put in place and all of that. So if this happened, what would happen? Would there be a profit? Would there be a loss? Or would it still be a break even? Please do not forget that I said earlier that after break even has been achieved, any extra sales, provided there are no extra fixed costs, that extra sales, the contribution calculated or determined on that extra sales will be the same as profit. Contribution on an extra sale after break even point has been reached will be contribution towards profit. You would see it. We will demonstrate it here. Look at it. We have 1,200 units sold. 1,200 units sold. Total sales revenue will be 120,000. When you multiply 1,200 units sold by $100, you will be having 120,000 here. So if you have 120,000 here, what will be the variable cost? Variable cost, as expected, too, will increase because sales has increased from 100 to 120. So variable cost too will increase from $60,000 to a level that will commensurate with 1,200 units. So we have 1,200 units sold times $60 per unit. So variable cost here is 72,000. So you can see that because an extra 200 units were sold, variable cost increased from 60 to 72, representing 12,000 extra variable cost that was incurred because of the extra 200 units that were sold. Perfect. So if we have this situation, the difference between sales and variable cost remains contribution, and this would give us $48,000. So $48,000 is the contribution we are having in level 4. Please look up. In level 3, where break even was achieved, we had contribution of $40,000. In level 4, where extra 200 units were sold, we are having an extra contribution of $8,000. As you can see here, 48,000 minus 40,000 is what? $8,000. 48,000 minus 40,000 is $8,000, meaning that the extra 200 units that were sold here the contribution from this extra 200 units is what is the extra $8,000. All right, we will demonstrate that. And how do we demonstrate that? How is that true? Please do not forget that let's calculate CMR, or contribution to sales ratio, at each level of sale. The CMR or sales contribution to sales ratio at each level. How do you calculate it? Please don't forget that CMR, or contribution to sales ratio, means what? Contribution divided by sales, which means 40 divided by 100 would give you what? Will give you 0.4. Okay, 0.4. All right. So this is contribution to sales ratio at each level. Let's also confirm if it will be 0.4 at level 2, level 3, and level 4. Do not forget what I said in the previous video, that CMR or contribution to sales ratio would remain the same as long as there is no change to selling price per unit and variable cost per unit. And you would agree that the examiner did not tell us that selling price per unit and variable cost per unit did change in any of these levels, which means they were constant. So if they were constant, CMR or contribution to sales ratio 2 should be constant. So in level 1, we have it at 0.4. Let's see if it will also be 0.4 in level 2. Okay, so what do? You do contribution, total contribution, that is 39,960 divided by 99,900. You can do that. You will discover that it will still give you 0.4 as contribution to sales ratio. Let's go to level 3. Okay, so contribution here is 40,000 divided by 100,000. It will also give you what? 0.4. Perfect. Please do not forget what I said also, that contribution to sales ratio or CMR is the expression of contribution as a percentage of sales, which means that contribution to sales ratio or CMR is used in calculating or is used in ascertaining what total contribution is. Perfect. If that is true, right? So which means that how do we confirm that this 42, this 48, which alternative way do we confirm this 48,000 to be correct as contribution for level 4? If you do 0.4 times 120,000, you will be getting 48,000. You can confirm that. Just do 0.4 times 120,000. This will certainly be what? 0.4. That is that. Perfect. So I have demonstrated here that CMR or contribution to sales ratio would always be the same at each level of sales. CMR would always be the same. It would not change irrespective of the sales level. That is point number 1. That is point number 1. Point number 2 is to prove that any additional sales after the break-even sales, any additional sales after the break-even sales, provided that fixed cost is constant and unchanged, would be contribution as well as profit. Please, this is the point I need you to understand. Please look at what we are trying to say here. Look up in level 3. You will discover that there is a break-even here. There is a break-even. And why is there a break-even? We are having 0 as profit. Why are we having 0 as profit? Our total sales is 100,000. Total cost is also 100,000. When you add up these two together, 100,000, 100,000. Again, if contribution is 40,000. Fixed cost is what? 40,000. Clearly, there is no profit, there is no loss. So this is a case of break-even. This one is very clear. Okay, this is very clear, which means that all the contribution that was earned, all right, was able to recover all the fixed costs incurred without any extra that would serve as profit. Okay, if that is clear, we are now saying that any sale beyond this $100,000, any extra sale would any contribution calculated on that extra sale will represent fixed cost. Is that clear? Any contribution calculated on any extra sale beyond this break-even sale. Yeah, where this 100K is break-even sale. This is break-even sales revenue. Any extra sale beyond this 100,000, the contribution thereof also represents profit. Also represents profit. Also represents profit. So the question now will be, now any additional sale. Now what is the additional sale here? The additional sale here is 20,000. The additional sale here is 20,000 because 120,000 minus 100,000 is what? 20,000. So the additional sales revenue here is 20,000. Let's confirm that if we apply CMR or contribution to sales ratio on the extra sale, let's confirm that the contribution we get would also be the same as the profit we'll be getting here. Is it clear? So let's look at it. What is the CMR? The CMR so far has been 0.4. So CMR or contribution to sales ratio is equal to 0.4. This means that the additional contribution on the extra sale is equal to 0.4 times that extra sale. Do you understand? Times that extra sales revenue, which is $20,000, which is $20,000. $20,000. So do 0.4 times $20,000. What is it giving us? It's giving me $8,000. $8,000. So this $8,000 is additional contribution. You will see that the existing contribution in level 3 was $40,000. Now the additional contribution in level 4 is $8,000. Is it clear? This $8,000 is the additional contribution. Perfect. I am now saying that this $8,000, which is the additional contribution, would ultimately become the profit in level 4. How do I prove that? Do not forget that fixed cost remains the same even in level 4. If fixed cost is the same in level 4, it would mean that 48,000 minus 40,000 fixed cost, we are having that extra or additional contribution, all right, which is 8,000, also having it as what? Profit in level 4. I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear, right? What have I said so far? I have said that any additional sale after break-even sale has been reached, any additional sale, the contribution calculated on it, provided no extra fixed cost has been incurred. You can see fixed cost has not changed. It remains 40, 40, 40, 40. Provided there is no additional or extra fixed cost, that additional contribution calculated would also mean the same as what? Profit. So clearly we are having a profit situation in level 4. A profit situation in level 4. A profit situation in level 4. Perfect. This is profit. This is a profit situation in level 4. So I hope this is clear. So if this is clear, I will quickly move to the next thing I want to discuss, which is margin of safety. When we say margin of safety, we are saying it simply means in literal term the safety zone where a student the safety zone where a student is not failing an exam, all right, where a student has not failed an exam, but he has not failed an exam, and he is also not achieving a distinction in the exam. He is just there, maybe a pass, all right. Let's say pass level is 40%, so maybe he's between 40% and 50%. Okay, this guy is between 40% and 50%. Okay, so he's not below 40%, he's not more than 50%, so he's just there. The student is average. Okay, an average student is between 40% and 50%. Of course, he has not failed the exam and he's not excellent in the exam, so it is a safety zone where he's not failing and he's not achieving excellence. Does that explain that? All right, now let's bring it further. Okay, let's assume this student has written an exam and the pass mark is 40%. Okay, if the pass mark is 40%, it simply means that if this student scores 39%, the student fails the exam. Do you agree? He fails the exam. Now, the student, after writing the exam, he has estimated that, oh, this exam, at best, I'll get a 50%. I'll get a 50%. So that is the estimated score. Do not forget the pass score is what? 40%. After the exam, he has estimated he will be scoring 50%. Okay, you will agree with me that the margin of safety for that student is 10%, which is that estimated 50% minus the pass mark 40%. All right, is the margin of safety, which means as long as the student is between 40% pass mark and 50%, the student is still okay. All right, so margin of safety represents the 10%, the difference between the two ends. Do you understand? Do you understand? So if this is the case, any attempt where the student scores any mark, if the actual score is anything less than 40%, like I said before, is a fail. Now let's bring it down to business sense. Okay, if we say that the break-even point of a business is 2,000 unit sales, which means at 2,000 unit sales, the guy is floating in business. Like I said in part 1, the guy is floating. The guy is floating in the market. All right. Any sale less than 2,000 units, you agree with me, is a loss. Right. So if the guy estimates that, okay, I'm currently at a break even of 2,000 units. Okay, let me estimate that at the end of the year, I will be having a sales level, or my estimated sales will be, let's say, 3,000 units. Now 3,000 units, of course, is an estimated sales. The difference between 3,000 units he has estimated and the 2,000 units where he currently is, which is the break-even point, is known as margin of safety, which means in technical terms, margin of safety is the difference between estimated sales and break-even sales. Is that clear? Again, margin of safety is the difference between estimated or actual sales and break-even sales. Do you understand? All right, which means that peradventure, if this estimated sales drop by anything more than 1,000 units, this guy will be operating at a loss. Will be operating at a loss. Will be operating at a loss. Okay, so technically we say margin of safety is how far the estimated sales would drop. How far the estimated sales would drop so that it would now result in a loss. Okay, so that margin of safety is still a safe zone. It's still playing safe. Okay, it is a danger, although it is a dangerous place to be, but every business should aspire, like I always say, to put in extra effort so that sales is increased, so that you grow far, so that your margin of safety is far wide. Okay, so that you have enough room to play in the market. Now, margin of safety is a measure of risk. Why is it a measure of risk? It is a measure of risk because the higher the margin of safety, the better for the business. Okay, the example I give about 3,000 being the unit sold as break even and 4,000 being the estimated unit that will be sold at the end of the year. Okay, the margin of safety is 1,000. Let's assume that he estimated as high as say 7,000 units. You would agree with me that the difference between 7,000 units estimated and 3,000 unit break even is 4,000 units. So the margin of safety in this sense is 4,000 units as compared to when it was 1,000 units. So the higher the margin of safety, the better for the business. The higher the margin of safety, the better for the business. And what will make your margin of safety to go high? It will go high when you put in extra effort to ensure that more units are sold. Okay, you put in more effort to ensure that more units are sold. The better the margin, the higher the margin of safety, the lower the business risk. The higher the margin of safety, the lower the business risk. The lower the margin of safety, the higher the business risk. So the relationship between margin of safety and business risk is inverse or negative. I hope this is correct. I hope this is clear to you. Fine, good. So how do you calculate margin of safety? Technically, we say margin of safety, which is MOS, is the difference between what? Estimated sales and break even sales. Perfect. So if we have this as margin of safety, please note it can be in unit, it can also be in value. Okay, can also be in value. Okay, if this is in unit, to make it to be in value, just multiply it by selling price per unit. Simple. Now it can also be calculated in percentage. Margin of safety can also be calculated in percentage. How do you calculate margin of safety in percentage? Just say estimated or actual sales minus break even sales all over estimated or actual sales. I hope this is clear. All right, good. So this means that the extent, again, MOS means the extent estimated sales would fall. The extent estimated sales would fall below the break-even sale, such that a loss situation occurs. Perfect. Good. Let's go ahead. So having explained this, the next thing I want to look at to further buttress this explanation, let's quickly look at this example or illustration between two businesses. So here we are saying that there are two businesses, business A and business B. Two businesses, business A and business E. For business A has an estimated sales. The estimated sales of business A, let's say the estimated sales of business A is $10,000, and that of business B is $15,000. Now the break-even sales of business A, let's say, is $8,000, while the break-even sale of business B, let's just assume, is $9,000. If this is the case, the question now goes further to tell you that, okay, let's assume that the contribution to sales ratio for business A is 1/4. The contribution to sales of business B, say, is 1/10. The question is now asking you, which business is doing better than the other? Which business is doing better than the other? Please look up. From what I explained earlier, margin of safety is a measure of risk. Margin of safety is a measure of risk of any business. Why is it a measure of risk? The higher the margin of safety, the lower the business risk. The lower the margin of safety, the higher the business risk, which means at any point in time, it is always important that your estimated sales and break-even sales are far apart. All right, look at these two businesses. What will be the margin of safety for business A? What will be the margin of safety for business B? Okay, so in answer to this question, so we are looking at the answer. So the answer will be this. What is the margin of safety for business A? The margin of safety, like I said, is what? Estimated sales minus break-even sales. This can be estimated or actual sales minus break-even sales. Okay, do not forget, again I repeat, break-even sales is that sales level break-even sales. Let's assume this company is currently operating at break-even sales. These two companies are currently operating at break-even sales. So break-even sales means the sales level where the business is not making profit, it is not making a loss. It is not making profit, it is not making a loss. Again, recall that at break-even, contribution is equal to fixed cost. Contribution is equal to fixed cost. Contribution is enough to recover all the fixed costs, but no excess, remains. No excess remains as profit. Good. If these two companies have break-even sales to be this and this, all right. Now they have estimated that at the end of the current period, they will be having an estimated sales to the tune of 10,000 and 15,000 respectively. Now, what does it mean? It means that to look at the MOS, the estimated sales is 10,000, break-even sales is 8,000. The difference is what? $2,000. The difference is $2,000 for business A. For business B, the difference is what? $6,000. $6,000. Who would you say is doing better than the other? Who has a better MOS? Who has a better margin of safety? Do not forget, the higher your margin of safety, the better. So clearly, we would say that business B is doing better than business A. Why? Because business B is having a higher margin of safety. And again, recall, the higher the margin of safety, the lower the business risk, which means that the business risk for business B is lower. Do you understand? The business risk of business B or company B is lower because its margin of safety is higher than that of business A. Is this clear? Is this clear? But what do we mean by business risk? The business risk for any of these two businesses is the risk where there will be decrease in demand for their product. The risk where there will be decrease in demand for their product, which invariably means that the risk that is associated to sales, the risk associated to sales is what we mean by business risk. Now, before we look at this risk further, let's again look at this. Let's look at this. At this level where they both operate, or where they both have break-even sales to be $8,000 and $9,000, dollars respectively, are they making any profit here? Are they making any profit here? What is the current profit? What is the current profit business A, or what will be the profit business A will make, given the estimated sales? What will be the profit business B will make, given the estimated sales of $15,000? What will be their profit? Look up. We said profit will be, all right, if the break-even sale is $8,000 here, estimated sales is $10,000 here. What does it suggest to you? It is suggesting that an extra sales would be made to the tune of $2,000. Don't forget the example I showed us previously. When an extra sale is made, an extra contribution is earned. That extra contribution, provided there are no extra fixed costs, the extra contribution becomes profit. Do not forget what I said few seconds ago. Perfect. So the extra sales that is estimated, which is $2,000 here, all right, will represent contribution calculated on it, will represent contribution for that extra sales. Perfect. So can you tell me, using the CMR or C over S given, which is 1/4, 1/4 also means 0.25. 1/10 also means 0.1. So using CMR or C over S, can you tell me what the extra contribution for business A, what it will be, since it is selling an extra, since it is estimated to sell extra $2,000 dollars, all right? So the extra contribution, the extra or additional contribution for business A would be what? It would be the extra sale of $2,000 divide the extra sale of $2,000 times 0.25. Please confirm that. The extra sale of $2,000 times 0.25. Do not forget that contribution margin ratio, or C over S, is used in getting, or is used in ascertaining contribution, like I said. Okay, so 0.25 will be applied on the extra sale to determine the extra contribution, all right, on the $2,000. So $2,000 times 0.25 would give us $500. So the extra additional contribution is same as what? As profit. Is same as profit. Is same as profit. Don't forget, any extra sales above the break-even sales, contribution thereof is same as profit. Contribution thereof is same as profit, provided no extra fixed cost has been incurred. All right, perfect. We'll do the same thing for business B. Do not forget that the extra sales here is $6,000. All right, so we'll use the CMR, or C over S, for business B to calculate the additional contribution for business B. All right, and that will give us $6,000 times 0.1, which means additional contribution for business B is what? $600. That $600 is the same as profit for business B. Will be the same as profit for business B. Will be the same as profit for business B. I hope this is clear. So you will clearly see that apart from the margin of safety of business B being greater than that of A, all right, you will also see that the profit for business B is also greater than that of business A. The profit or the contribution for business B is also greater than that of business A. So these are what makes business B to be better off than business A. Is that clear? So I did say that I was going to talk about the business risk as it relates to these two businesses. Do not forget, I said business risk represents the risk that is associated with sales, right? The risk that customers would reduce their demand for the products of these two businesses. That's what we call business risk. Okay, good, perfect. So what will make this business risk to reduce? The business risk for any business, all right, will reduce where margin of safety is high. Where margin of safety is high. Okay, again, we say margin of safety is when estimated sales is far higher than break-even sales. When margin of when estimated sales is far higher than break-even sales, all right, you'll be having a high margin of safety and you'll be better off than the competitors. Perfect. So so let's assume the business risk is the fact that these two businesses, demand for their product would reduce by 20%. Do you understand? Let's assuming that demand for their product would reduce or fall by 20%. So the question is coming in this way. Do not forget that the question clearly asks which business is doing better than the other. All right, so we have clearly seen from two perspectives that business B is doing better than business A because higher margin of safety, that's one. Secondly, higher contribution or higher profit. All right, business B is doing better. Now the question now goes further. This is question 1. Now this is question 2. The question now goes further where there is a 20% decrease, where there is a 20% decrease in demand, how would you reassess the risk faced by these two businesses? All right, I hope you understand the question. So here we have been told that there's a decrease in demand by 20%. So if demand decreases by 20%, it means that estimated sales will reduce by 20% for business A. It will also reduce by 20% for business B. Okay, so if that is the case, you say answer. So for business A, business B, okay, so it means that what would now be the actual sales? What would now be the actual sales following actual sales? What will be the actual sales following the reduction in demand by 20%? All right, so just do 0.8 times 10,000 for business A. You're having $8,000. $8,000. What will now be the actual sales for business B following the 20% decrease in demand? Just do 0.8 times $15,000. All right, that should give us $12,000. So if $12,000 will be the actual sales for business B, all right. So don't forget that the break-even sales remains at $8,000 for business B. Break-even sales for business A, break-even sales for business B remains at $9,000. At $9,000. So now, please do not be lost. I hope you are following me. So we have it this way. The question has told us that sales would reduce by 20%. If sales would reduce by 20%, so show us what the current sales or what the actual sales will be. The actual sales will be like this when their break-even sales are still like this. Okay, so look at this. The question is now asking you, would you still say business B is far better than business A? All right, you know, here you said business B is better than business A. Given this situation, would you still maintain your answer or your position? So let's look up. Look at business A. Business A here is showing that it is currently, or it is showing that its actual sales would be the same as its break-even sales, which means that business A would be operating at its break-even, or business A is actually operating at its break-even. So if business A is operating at its break-even, it means that this business A will be making zero profit. The actual profit of business A will be zero. Do you understand? You know, at break-even level, we said break-even level is that level where your profit is zero. It means that this guy will be operating at zero profit. Since its actual sales is same thing as the break-even sales, all right, it is operating. It means that there will be no profit. Do not forget that at break-even, all the contribution in, were used to recover all the fixed costs incurred, and there is no extra that will be profit. So it means profit is zero for business A. Do you understand? Now for business B, break-even position is $9,000. Okay, even given the fact that, or even despite the fact that sales reduced by 20%, it is still operating beyond the break-even sales. All right, which further makes this business B, to be better than business A, because its actual sales is higher than the break-even sales. As long as your higher sales is higher than your break-even sales, it means you are doing better than the other business, all things being equal. Perfect. So the profit for business, what will be the profit for business B? How do you calculate the profit for business B? Don't forget the principle. Any extra sale above the break-even sale, any extra sale above the break-even sale, the contribution thereof is same as profit. So how do you calculate the contribution on the extra sale? Do not forget the extra sale of this will be 12 minus 9. That will give us $3,000. This $3,000 is the extra sale. This is the extra sales. This extra sale, calculate the contribution on it. The contribution on it is simple. Just say $3,000 times 0.1. Don't forget 0.1 is the CMR or C over S of business B. You're right. So you'll be having $300 as what? As the additional contribution or profit. Is this clear? So clearly we can see that business B is still better than business A, given the 20% reduction in demand for their products. All right. So for business B, for business A, it is making zero profit when there is decrease by 20%. For business B, it is making a profit of $300 when there is a decrease in demand. All right. More so, there is the difference between its actual sales and break-even sales is $3,000. So $3,000 is higher than $0. Okay, the margin of safety for business B is $3,000, while the margin of safety for business A is 0. All right, difference between these two is zero. So far better than business A. Perfect.